my name's Olivia.
And I'm Donovan.
And we're both members of the Teen Arts Council here at the ICA.
All right, and we are here with Catherine Opie in her exhibit, Empty and Full.
So the first thing we want to ask you, is there a thread of commonality that goes through this exhibit that you think we should keep an eye out for?
In terms of the way that they go together, one of the things that happens with the seascapes of going on the ship from Hanjin is that it allows you to realize to a certain extent with the other images in relationship to the notion of democracy in America and assembly, the right to assemble, that everything is connected at this point, that we are globally connected. So in a certain way, by circling the gallery with the images, I think it really emphasizes that relationship of the vastness of the sea with the identity of the different groups of people that I've chosen to photograph.
Thank you. Okay.
Sure.
We're going to head over here.
And now we're going to head over here too.
Okay, let's go.
So here we have two pieces in this corner. This picture of a gay rights rally, signs I do support the freedom to marry, as well as on the opposite side, Tea Party rallies, which I think is a great aspect of this exhibit, is the juxtaposition. So the first question I have is that in the past you've explored this concept of the American identity, or of a American identity. Can you speak to that in regards to these two pieces?
Well, I think that I've always explored the diversity of American identity. And I think that, within that, I'm really curious with how we decide as human beings in relationship to the idea of connection that we have from various community. And within that, I'm also interested in the fact that sometimes it creates this notion of a singular identity for people. But I actually don't believe that any of us have a singular identity. I really believe that we are a sum of many parts. And so these juxtapositions in a certain way hopefully will act as metaphors for people to begin to think about the way that they begin to identify with different groups of people as well.
I was wondering, when you go to these rallies, do you sort of sit there as an objective sort of documenter, and you're just behind your camera, or do you interact with what's going on, and do you participate in the sort of politicalness of the rallies?
I've gone to rallies where I've participated, but when I'm photographing, I'm thinking about making photographs. So even though there might be something, a certain group of people that I identify with more or am politically aligned with more, I am there, basically in my mind as a person bearing witness and making images.
Great.
So.
All right, so we're going to move to another part of the museum.
Okay.
Is there anything that intimidates you or scares you as an artist?
Intimidates me. Probably wild animals.
As a subject matter?
Oh yeah, I guess I really wouldn't want to try to photograph a tiger tamer in a cage. So, but no, I actually am not that intimidated. I might be a little bit reserved or feel like I'm a little bit outside of a place that I might feel like that I belong, but at the same time, I try to put those feelings away.
All right, so now, like we said, we're at a new part of the exhibit, and we have two pieces here. We have the one over here that is sunset, and the one over here which is sunrise. And it's based on the trip you took that was 11 days from a port in Hong Kong to
Korea.
Busan.
The port of Busan.
To the port in California. Here, what's interesting enough is that in the rest of the galleries, you capture people, groups.
Yeah.
And then outside of it, you have these pictures of this trip that you took. So you capture social environments and you capture natural environments. What similarities and differences do you see in these different,
Well, one of the things is the similarity in relationship to the conversation that I'm trying to have about what landscape is. And so in a certain way, the working loose title of the bodies of work in here are political landscapes. That I'm placing them that, even within the portraits are horizontal, they're not vertical. We usually think of that form as being, portraits are usually looked at as being vertical. I mean, when you're holding up something, there's the portrait or there's the landscape, I did it opposite. And then these actually become portraits to a certain extent in relationship to their verticality. So it's not the horizontal landscape. It's not that kind of romantic sense of landscape that we have. So in a certain way, I'm asking you to think about like how we create these layers of language even in relationship to how we view images, and begin to kind of come up anew to a certain way in viewing something. One, it's about a journey. It's the most cliche thing that you can do in photography is sunrises and sunsets. I mean, I've been teaching for 21 years, and when students bring in sunsets, I have to really question them about why that's important to them. Like, okay, what is it about a sunset? And one of the things that I love about this is that the fact that within the rigor of those rules that I set for myself as an artist, like, okay, this is what I'm going to do on this journey, that there's days that you don't get the sunrise or sunset, that you actually get a feeling and kind of almost time and and kind of what that means as far as when you walk around the room.
So now we're going to move to the next part.
Okay.
Around the corner.
All right, and now we're in another part of the exhibit, and in this part we have portraits of a Boy Scout Jamboree meeting, right? It was the Jamboree.
100th anniversary of the
100th
Boy
anniversary.
Scouts of America.
Yep. And then on the opposite side, we actually have pictures of women at the Women's Festival. So once again, this is another greatly juxtaposed portion of the exhibit. So we have the Boy Scouts and we have women at the Women's Fest. However, you photograph them in a very similar and objective way. And why do you do that?
Again, I don't necessarily want to place my own politics in front of, within it. Yeah. But I mean, I think that this one, it's just like, this photograph wouldn't work if it wasn't for this character. Like
the one laying down.
If it wasn't for this guy. I love how he's taking up the space. And so a lot of decisions are made formally too. So the fact that this figure is laying in relationship to this sea of people creates automatically this really interesting juxtaposition within composition that you then can begin to look at the images in relationship to obviously a sameness but a difference as well. And then whatever kind of dialogue that you bring to that is, depends on one's own personal interpretation. But I do try to use aesthetics in relationship to that. I mean, the freedom of where to set up your tent versus the structure of the tents within the Boy Scouts ends up, adding a really interesting dialogue. The other part of making this body of work, which was important for me, which started in 2006, is I was going around to all these installations of artists, and everybody seemed to have flowers. And I was just like, why is everybody making images of flowers? It was like, I literally went to New York to a series of openings, and there were 4 artists from gallery to gallery that I went to that were just like flowers. And I felt that it was really important to go back out onto the street, to put the camera back in my hand, and to be kind of reflecting and looking at just the different discourses within our time and what it meant to document again, what it is to literally bear witness and document. So it became really important to me.
Well, Ms. Opie, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Opie, thank you for your time. It was a pleasure meeting with you and discussing your work.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming to the ICA.
No, I appreciate it, you guys. I think that it's fantastic that you're doing this. It's all set up.
Do you want to be in the middle?
No, I don't want to be on the end here.
Okay.
Oh. All right, we're good.